We're snorting cap rates and shooting up cash flow here at Deal Junkies. Welcome back to Deal Junkies. We are here for a follow-up episode. I'm Gabe Johansson here with Mike Nuss, Trevor Howard, and Dane McKinney. And we want to talk to Mike today about his transition. Mike is transitioning. So we're going to talk about future Mike.
Yes.
Where do you come up with this concept?
Great question. The concept of a future self I learned about for the first time in January 2019. Never once ever thought of something like that. We innately think about goals and accomplishing things, but as using a future self as a lens for your current actions or filter for your current day-to-day decisions, that concept was new to me in January 19.
Who introduced you to the concept?
Benjamin Hardy.
Okay. You wrote a book on it? Or
No, so Benjamin Hardy's my favorite author. His famous books are Who Not How, Personality Isn't Permanent, Willpower Doesn't Work. He's done, so Dan Sullivan, what is his huge Genius Network or something like that. So one of my favorite authors, he's a psychologist, and when I met him was at a conference, and I had just read his book, Willpower Doesn't Work. And which I thought was complete bullshit because I had lost 40 pounds in 3 months, and I was like, fuck that, I got willpower. And then I realized that his book was the catch thing. What he was actually saying was, from a psychological standpoint, our environment has significant influence on us. And as I read the book and realized, well, yeah, that's why I don't have anything in the refrigerator and there's no cereal in the cupboard. And I created an environment so that way I didn't have to use willpower to accomplish the goal. Genius guy, really good. He shows up on stage wearing sweatpants, and there's a bunch of millionaires in the audience, and so it's okay. Well, who's this guy? And he starts talking about the new book he's working on at the time, which is Personality Isn't Permanent. And so then he starts talking about this concept of a future self and thinking through the lens of a future self, and so it was a brand new concept at that time. And at that time I'd already lost weight. I had goals for losing a significant more amount of weight.
How much weight did you lose?
How fat were you?
Yeah, dude. Woo,
That's one way to say it. I said it the nice way.
Answer Dave's question.
I wish I knew the actual answer to that. 282 pounds is the most I remember weighing myself at right at this time, in September of 18. I must have been 40 to 50% body fat. I was just fat. I could barely, the last flight I took up to that, I almost had to ask for an extender. It was bad. Yeah.
So you saw in this presentation, tell us your guy's name again.
Benjamin Hardy.
So he's talking about a future self, and you see your future self not being 282 pounds.
Yeah, that was prior, but we all see ourselves and we all think we're going to do things, but to say, this is who I'm becoming, and now I have such a clear vision of who I'm becoming, that's the lens I analyze everything through. So would the 5-year version of Mike do this? Mm-hmm. Or would the 5-year version of Mike make this decision instead? And so now that's your compass to help you on a day-to-day basis move in the direction you want to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been 5 years.
It's been 5 years.
Are you the future Mike you saw yourself 5 years ago as?
That's a good question. No, I'm not. I've never really done a really good vivid vision yet. I think I've accomplished portions of that. So, for example, that time I never considered myself a runner. I became ran a half marathon trail running, and kind of created this identity of never been backpacking, solo backpacking trips, stuff like that. So I became a more evolved human being in that aspect. I don't know that yet I'm even really clear on what I want my future self to be.
But back then you wanted something different.
Yeah.
You wanted to evolve.
Yeah, I physically, spiritually, for sure. At that time, the business was already evolving, and that was the focus. And so I guess 2019 was the kind of my first step away from business owner and step into, self-employed with employees to now business owner, leading employees instead of being in the work. So there's kind of that transition. 22 threw some hiccups in there, and I bought my partner out, and so business changes and goals changes there, and so there was this real big expansion of myself from 2019, 2020, 2021 to an extent, and then kind of a contraction as the vision I had painted of partnerships and taking over the world is now, okay, the partnership taking over the world is clearly not going to happen. So what does that mean? And now you're like in this dark tunnel period of time of, okay, well, that was my identity. That identity no longer is there. So there's this period of time where you're realizing that identity's doling and it's disappearing. That's a period of time. And now I'm in this period of time now of, okay, well, shedding light on the new identity and what is that going to look like, and who do I want that to be? Yeah, it's interesting to kind of go through these evolution stages and growth phases and the people you meet along the way and how you then start doing things differently.
So are you just trying to figure out your next 5-year plan right now and vision of yourself? Or
no, I'm really happy. And so like when we delivered our kind of vision to staff after the partnership buyout, which was the comment that, and this is my integrator, my second in command, his statement was, we want a staff-led growth plan. And my thought process behind that is I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with the assets I currently own, the assets I think I'm going to buy in the short term, the assets I'm going to buy in the long term. I'm really happy with where I'm at. My goal now is, are my staff happy? Are they getting out of life what they want to get out of life? And so we want to make decisions that then feed them. So we're not going to take on, expand our property management company unless our staff can handle that. Because the last thing I want to do is expand for expansion's sake and then put them in a position where they're unhappy. So now it's more of a coordinated decision process of where do we want to go. One thing that I did then was leadership is kind of a portion of that next vision or next evolution of me. And so I created a dream manager program. And so then meeting with staff and like, what are your quarterly goals? What are you trying to obtain? Which is a fun process because 2 of those have already been met. It's because now you can start taking action with them. For example, one of my employees lives an hour and 15 minutes from the office, and he's the guy who's also out in the field some of the time, and so that creates complications. And so in that dream manager meeting, he's like, I want to move close to the office. I can get another owner-occupied loan. I want a 2 to 4 unit building. I want to get as much loan as I can. I want to move closer to the office. And he was getting a promotion and some listing agent commissions, and so then we worked together a plan. So instead of being an employee and an agent getting commissions, we mapped out what those commissions would be, put it into a salary, so now he can borrow more money because it's W-2 income instead of 1099 income. Sure. Put that plan into place. We get a deal. It doesn't quite work for me. Great duplex, really close to the office, really unique, works really well for him. So now he knocks that off his bucket list. So huge distraction from the question, but see how that kind of all now plays together.
You're giving a vision that's big enough that all these people can fit into it.
Yeah, and yeah.
Did you see yourself as part of your future, Mike, caring more about others than yourself or setting goals?
That's been my downfall. And I think one thing is a lot of our downfalls are also our superpowers. And so I typically have historically cared about people more than I've cared about myself. And so that is a superpower in and of itself. And that way you get a lot of social capital and people, there's some magnetism to that. Well, then the downside is you shrink yourself sometimes to then help others out. And so there's this balance point there. What's that?
One of your weaknesses is that you care too much.
You can overcare. Overcare is a legitimate term. It's actually a psychological term.
Do you care about us?
I love you guys. I literally said this yesterday. The funnest thing going on in my life right now is the Deal Junkies podcast.
Okay. I'm so glad we're doing it on Fridays now too.
So I'm selfish. I just want to know what future Mike sees for Deal Junkies in the next 5 years.
Oh, partnerships. BDBS LLC is coming.
Don't break that down.
No, I'm not. So the environment, let's go back to the environment thing. And so we met 2 years ago, and it's the same dog that you met 2 years ago, by the way, that you were surprised to meet today. Maybe you never, did you not see Max?
Dane wasn't in that picture.
I don't remember people's names.
No, when I met you,
I don't remember your
had
dog's
not met
name.
Dane.
Oh, you'd not? Okay.
I had not met
You're mad at Dane for not remembering.
He didn't
your
recognize
dog.
my dog.
No, I
it's
recognized
like
your dog. I just said, "Hey, dog," and then you were like, "This is Max," and I was like, "No, I know your dog."
I was on the phone. It looked like he was surprised I had a dog.
No.
Okay.
How dare
So-
you call
I
my
met
dog
your dog
dog?
at the dog park like 2 weeks ago.
That's right.
He was about the same size.
Before Paul's
Yeah,
show.
not that long.
Before Paul's show that got
wasn't Paul's
canceled.
Yeah.
We won't break that down either.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a superpower and a super weakness to that. But environment. So we met 2 years ago, which started then. My future self started 2 years ago. That is literally how things happen. And like when we interviewed Paul, I love this. We were talking about something, and like a little kid, he lights up and he goes, "There's a magic behind it," and that's where the magic happens in everything that we do. Even the little duplex that I was talking about on the last episode. There's 12 years of magic behind that. I met the seller 12 years ago and had wine in his house. I was not capable of helping him out with his problems at that time. Crazy how all these things happen. But so there's magic behind all this. What was the fucking question?
I don't know where you're going with all this. Are you asking us for help?
No,
You
no,
draft the
environment.
yourself or what? What are
No,
we talking
so
about?
environment. So meeting you
Yeah.
set me on track in a different direction.
I'm a positive influence in your life. You're welcome.
Thank you. I'd like to say that you meeting me set your path in a different direction as well. I think there's some reciprocal exchange there.
Trevor can't see that.
But-
So this is an interesting thought. Like Mike has too much empathy, and Trevor doesn't have any empathy. So we have
lots of
like this.
empathy. I just like acting like
Just
this.
like
No,
hiding
no,
it.
your Trevor's empathy is on a spreadsheet. He's like, oh, I read a book. It says I need to care more about other people so
Yeah.
I can make
No.
more money.
I just care so much. I'm trying to solve your problems right now, but I don't know what we're talking about.
Well, you're not used to people wanting to talk to you unless you're going to solve their problem for them. So you think everybody's bringing you a problem.
We're just talking right now.
Okay.
We're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is the magic of life for me. I always get put alongside guys who just don't give a fuck about things, and then I kind of bring a little endearing heart to their
No,
lives.
I give a fuck, Mike.
Okay.
Okay, continue.
We were talking about
So-
Mike's transition. Now we're talking about Trevor's transition.
So how does that show up in the world today? So for example, so then we had lunch like a year ago or something, and we start talking about podcasts, and well, Gabe's pretty cool and laid back dude, and we have a lot of. So then we start this podcast, and we start talking about how you guys do deals. And I think what's changed for me over the past few months is I've always had a cashback mentality when I underwrite stuff. It's always been short time frames, got to get cash back, limited resources. So like on our break, Dane was bitching about a bad email he got. Well, I just got an accepted offer for a $2.1 million care facility. Thank you very much.
Whoa.
And here's how that shows up. So if I had not met you guys and I had that opportunity to come across my plate, it would have been like the offer that my acquisition manager created that I told him to create, which was, well, find out kind of how much we can get from a down payment standpoint. We kind of got some stuff. It's like, well, it's going to need to be $3 million down, and it needs $300,000 in repair, and then first position deed of trust. And it's like, okay, well, shit, $600,000 raise. First, it just complicates everything. And so before he sent that over, I was like, let's do offer number 2. And this comes from, now I'm going to be a real estate broker as well. I'm going to go get my real estate broker's license, which is part of this whole
Really?
story. Yeah, I am.
Why?
Because I have to.
He owns a brokerage.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was like, are you gonna try to broker deal?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I
Seems
just
like a
missed
waste
out
of
on a
time.
$50,000 commission because I didn't have a license.
You're thinking small. Like that's a waste of time for Mike, is it? not?
No. I did everything for a $50,000 commission. I didn't get one because I don't have a license. Maybe not everything.
Could have been a consulting fee.
Yeah.
You have a consulting company.
So here's what I did. So I wrote the offer up, and well, let me go back. So let me go back to the broker thing. So, and this is Gabe competing with himself and all these things. And so I've got a friend, older friend, lends me a bunch of money on the private side. He owns real estate. I helped him buy an apartment building, seller finance, and all this stuff. And it's been a nightmare. He hasn't got any cash flow, a lot of CapEx, and he's in a life he doesn't want to own it. So we modeled through a few scenarios. He got a really good offer from a wholesaler, and we joked about going in escrow because it's a wholesaler he's not going to close, and he did, and they didn't, and all those things. But it was a fun experience and through that we put together some financial models that would actually make sense for him if he did sell this asset. How do you stay in your lane while making the pie bigger and
By knowing exactly who future Mike is.
1,000%. And here, and here's another so more social media content, more education. That's really what I want to double down on. We got the podcast. We're talking about shorts. I started collaborating with another gal. She was interviewing me the other day. I love this thought process. So we understand the concept of a buy box. So as she's interviewing me, she's asking me about this project and how it fits in the buy box. Well, the other thing is, well, how does that buy box fit into your shelving system, right? Because we all have different types of buy boxes, do we not? We have different types of capital. We have different types of partnerships. We have different types of businesses. We have family members. We have health. We have all these things. And so you have this shelving system, and you have to understand how all of these little boxes fit into that shelving system as your future self. And if you can look at your future shelving system, that has a lot of influence on what you're doing with your current shelving system.
Yeah, as I have a lot of, like you said, I'll be competing against myself on a deal and not even know it because I buy in multiple partnerships and these guys are chasing deals. They don't even know that they're competing against each other. So there's a bit of a problem there. The goal is for these partnerships to either not compete with each other or to actually accentuate each other, if that were possible. But then trying to imagine how that all goes together, you know, best laid plans. Like you can come up with those ideas on how it all works, and sometimes it doesn't always work like that. So, you know, there's 1,000 deals on the market, and there just happens to be one that I have 3 entities chasing, you know. So you know that, well, to me, that's
buy box is pretty
my buy box. I know that my partners are looking for the right deal because they're all landing on the same deal.
Yes.
So if I see 2 offers with my name on it, oh, okay, we know we found one. So, but to your point, like, where do you want to go? Is that a soul searching? Is that like, what do I want to be doing with my day? How much money do I need in the bank? How much time with my kids and my dog and all the things you enjoy in life? Like, how do you envision yourself, your future self, and what you want? Is it money driven, or is it just like quality of life driven, or what?
1,000% not money driven, 100% quality of life driven, quality of relationship driven. And those relationships start with my kids and my staff. I throw my parents in there as well. But I want to be able to spend a lot of time with my kids. They're at a point right now where they need me more than they've ever needed me in my life. And I get it. I'm being challenged more as a father than I've ever been challenged in my life. And I fucking love it.
How old are your kids?
15 and 17.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I love that.
Almost out of the nest. They really need you.
Yeah, and we moved recently, and the way I've got it is every other week on and off, and now moving and closer. I had to have a conversation with them yesterday. I was like, look, when I don't have you guys, I pack my schedule. And so that way I can have a fluid schedule when I do have you. And what I've struggled recently is those boundaries of a week on, week off have bled as in we're in closer proximity. And I'm like, I need 3 days. I love you guys. But I've had to throw my normal tight schedule in chaos, and we got to stop this. And so this boundary then of, okay, I need to have a lot of time for my family and my kids, but I also have to have a lot of time for my staff, make sure they are very clear on where we're going. The types of discussions we're having is now we're really compartmentalizing our very different business models while we have new opportunities coming on. So we bought a really small care facility, partnered in, and kind of just got it off our bandwidth. So we have a little bit of that expansion. Never worked on an office tower. We're starting to build to rent model. We have the build to sell model. We're expanding our portfolio. Now I'm doing these 1031 exchange TIC type partnerships as well. And so we've got more buckets of capital than we've ever had. We have more ability from a staff standpoint to expand now than we've ever had. But how do you stay focused? How do you keep your staff confident in your decision-making process when you start changing everything on them and bringing new things in? And so entering new ideas. And so like with my acquisitions manager, Daniel, the feedback he gets from me on all these deals now is significantly different. We're talking 2-page long emails. Instead of yes, I like this, do that. It's here's why we're doing it. Here's screenshots. I'm getting in there making custom spreadsheets. I'm doing screenshots and saying, here's how we can do this. If we structure it this way, we can do this. So giving him this tools to now think beyond a residential fix and flip buyer to an apartment buyer. And then along that tribe, so, signing him up for the 0 to 100 units tribe. So now getting him custom training so he can evolve into this next self. And so the conversation I'm having with my staff and even with my kids now that they're starting to understand this concept, which is, well, what is your future self? Mm-hmm. And what decisions are you making today for your future self? And then kind of painting that picture for them. which is Daniel was so reluctant to bring on anyone behind him for a long time. He's just, I don't need anyone else. I can do this. And I'm like, yeah, but. And then you paint the picture for him and you say, well, this is where you're going. And if you're here, you can't do this.
Do the other things,
yeah. And then as you're in alignment and as you're clearing your vision, then the details start showing up. And it's funny how this stuff happens. Well, Daniel now has a helper working for him that just organically came through all of this, and they're going to funnel into our brokerage, but they're not licensed. And so it's part of that magnet building. And the more clear you are, and you don't have to be clear because we know that we're going to change. We know that we're going to be nimble. But if we know that we're clear on the direction we're going, we're clear on how we can put some boundaries or bumpers on the bowling alley in place, those then details figure themselves out, which is amazing.
So you said when you met us a couple of years ago or a year ago, it sort of altered your did it alter your vision for yourself, or did it just make you decide it was time to go back to the drawing board and rethink who future Mike is going to
No, it was a planting of a seed that's been getting watered, right? So you look at nature and seeds just get planted naturally, right? Like kind of the magic behind this wind blows, the seed goes over there, and that's the perfect place for that tree. And so I see, like, sitting on the freaking sidewalk with my dog working at the coffee shop, and then I meet Trevor. Okay, well, that was a seed that was planted, and then Trevor meets Dane, another seed, and then these start getting watered, and then your future vision then starts seeing it. Is that
What's
So-
the water? Just in the metaphor. Well, I'm just trying.
in the
to-
metaphor
yeah,
of the
We're
word?
yeah.
all
Well, it's the
seeds.
meetings. It's the tears in our meetings when we start tearing up, talking about.
It's weird that you said we.
Well, Trevor didn't tear up.
I
You
guess
teared up.
I was close.
You teared
I
up.
was close.
You teared up.
I was.
I cry every time I talk to Mike because I don't know what he's talking about.
I cried because I was so
So-
confused.
What are you
You're-
saying, Mike?
So your
I
whole
don't
thing
understand
is
Why do you do
economics.
this to me?
so you've learned there's a ton of ways to do deals. There's new ways you're looking at
Mhm.
deals. You have a new. I don't understand your vision. You're coming up with a new vision, or you have a vision.
Well,
you're
commercial,
following a
right? So
vision?
I've always been a small scale guy.
Okay.
We're making you think bigger.
You're making me think bigger and differently. So along the lines of the broker. So my limited belief. So part of becoming a future person is changing your limiting beliefs now. So using that lens to change your limiting beliefs. So my future self will be brokering big commercial deals.
Oh, so you want to go into that space? And
Yeah,
do that.
and not that I
Okay.
want to go into that space, but it's a byproduct of who I'm becoming. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't see why you want to do that. So
I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. but
Quality
it-
of life.
Here's what I want to do. I love talking to business owners. I love talking to real estate owners.
Yep.
Those turn into business transactions and real estate
Yeah, and you want to get
transactions.
compensated for it.
You may as well. That's how I look at it.
Is it the highest and best use of your time and energy?
Dude, I can go past that test. without-
You should
Nah.
get
Not the test. I'm
license.
saying
No.
actually.
I do not want a broker. I'm not marketing. This is a byproduct, a tool that can be used every once in a while.
When it falls in your lap.
Exactly.
So you're going to refer the deals to us, and then we're going to pay you a referral fee? Is that what? That makes sense. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
He wants a fat referral.
I like
fee,
that.
too.
So we're your leasing agents now,
Can't you-
and we are your referral brokers.
Do you even need to do that because you already have agents at your brokerage, and then doesn't it all filter through?
But then
to
they
you anyway?
but my agents aren't. If you could have seen me pitching this office tower to the business owner the other day,
I don't know. Just to cut you off.
So
this
my
is the
s-
thing I run into with Gabe, and he's like, "Why are you trying to buy the deals? That's where you make all the money."
Right.
So, like,
Well, okay, but
you're
Mike.
going backwards.
Okay,
I
but
feel.
no, I'm
well,
not.
Hold on.
You're
a
not
second.
listening to me.
You guys are opposite. Remember, he has empathy too much. You have empathy not in. Okay, he said he's envisioning future Mike for quality of life and quality of relationships. Your vision immediately, he almost threw up. I looked over when he said that. You almost threw up because you're like, no, you do it all for money. But the thing is that when you ask Trevor, why'd you do it all for all the money? You go, what are you gonna do with the money? I don't know. I'll just give it away and go do it again because it's fun. So Trevor's playing the game to play the game. He also isn't married, doesn't have kids. So I love what Mike is talking about, how he shares about he has a 15 and 17-year-old kid. Kids are going to go off to college or do whatever they do, and you spend a lot less time with your kids once they're grown. You guys don't hang out with your parents as much as you did when you were 15 and 17. So Mike's spending time with his kids. Well, they live in Texas.
Mine live in Kansas. His live in Salem.
Kansas? I thought they were in Texas. They moved?
I can't
He
Kansas
doesn't-
City.
Does Dane have?
Kansas City.
Regardless, what he
It-
just said is
okay.
true.
Kansas
Kansas City is in Texas.
No, they
Oh.
they moved to.
Okay.
Oh, they moved.
Kansas.
They moved.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. I digress.
So what you're
But-
missing is, I had a really good conversation with a friend that I just love having. If I had my broker's license, it would have gone on the market under my license, and then all these negotiations, they would have been easier. And then you've like, so at one point the negotiation was, do I have to pay a fucking listing agent commission? They're not getting the deal done, right? So that sentiment.
But if you're going to list, you've got to spend money and market, and people have. I mean,
They
you
put
gotta
it
take,
on. They put
phone-
it on their website.
But you get phone call. You got to deal with a bunch of crap that you may not want.
And
to
again,
deal
a
with.
team member, right? So I'm not gonna be a broker, and I wouldn't list something if I didn't have a team member that can do the work that I don't want to do.
Right.
But I see my future self having those team members in place, and I'm already having those conversations. Does that so?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see why you would. It seems like you're going backwards.
Get off the brokering. It doesn't fucking matter. We're talking about 1% of future Mike.
Okay.
Okay, but that's just an example of. Had I never heard Gabe talk about earning commissions, then it's like, well, it doesn't make sense because I don't like inserting myself in. I don't want to convince people to buy deals. That's my whole thing. Is I have a different evaluation. I don't want to make decisions for people, and I don't want to be subject to people making decisions.
Yeah, I see. Like, you're already helping people structure this deal, do all this. You're like, let me
Yes.
just help you with this piece also because you're going to be asking me all the questions
Exactly,
anyway.
which
So I
is
get
exactly
that.
what's transpired. I got a call at 2:30 to go over the counter he accepted, and then now when do I contact my seller financier about what's happening?
Yeah, and you're just doing all this work for free.
Free. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will say, I live my life on two rules. Number one, make friends. Number two, have fun.
Yes.
Right. So that's for me. That's why I'm doing it. It's not about anything else. It's like I
Can
just
I
want.
steal those?
I just love people and I love to have fun. Of all the things I do, my favorite thing to do is broker a deal.
Mhm.
So when it comes down, the reason why I focus so much on buying deals is because Trevor showed me the spreadsheet. And I know in terms of dollars and cents, I know my highest and best is in owning buildings. And everything that I'm doing over here that takes me away from buying more buildings is going to make me less wealthy over time. However, I do like to have the opportunity to do the things I enjoy doing. And some people like to go play golf. I don't play golf. Some people like to go.
You're missing out. By the way.
I used to play golf.
Okay.
I played golf for 40 years and I kept getting worse, so I finally quit. But there are things in life that people enjoy that they just enjoy. They have a hobby, they set up train sets or whatever people do, right? People have hobbies.
Love deals.
We love deals.
Love talk about
So-
deals, love doing deals, love
So
thinking about deals.
Why wouldn't I want to broker a big deal, even if it's one I can't buy or I don't want to buy, and make a huge commission doing it? Because there's drama, and Dane gets the email while we're at break, and he goes sideways because bad things happen. We could have a little contest and open our phones,
And that's where you
how
let
many
it
good-
go. Just under
Well,
experiment.
yeah. So again, owning buildings is boring. Buying buildings is really fun. And the bigger projects you buy, the fewer you're going to buy. So you're going to get fewer hits of dopamine in that.
Oh,
You're-
If you're brokering, you get to be high all
exactly.
the time. You're
Exactly.
doing deals all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. So it's a way of being able to insert yourself and ride coattails without.
The other thing is when you close a deal and you're brokering, you get a big fat check.
Yeah.
And
Well,
when you buy a deal, you get to find out what big fat check you're going to be writing next because you just found out you need a roof or you need some other problem that you got to fix.
and I've watched Sang do this as he built his, he's collecting these huge commission checks as he's getting these bigger commercial. He bought like $28 million of real estate in 3 months, and then he gets all these commission checks. And then watching him negotiate this tower, well, the last piece, while it's dragged out another 10 days, has been 5% commission, which then gives us equity in the deal. Super important component to the fundraise component of it.
This is one of your brokers that works.
Yeah, it works for me.
Forever?
So he's the partner on the office tower. So he's the
Okay.
one negotiating it, and I see now what his strategy is. The hard negotiation now gives us the ability to bring equity for free.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So future Mike.
Yeah.
What's future? I mean, how far out do you look? What are you envisioning?
So where my kids are at right now, I don't look very far at all. I don't even want to because, again, my environment's such a huge component of that. I don't know if I'm going to be living in Salem. I don't know if I'm going to be living in Portland. I do know that residency within 5 years will not be in Oregon. It's just a matter of where's that residency and then how much time am I in those different locations.
So
how are we going to do this podcast in 5
Where
years?
are
then?
you
What do you
residency?
mean?
Dude, if we're not fucking meeting in Thailand for this podcast in 5 years, we're doing something wrong.
So future Mike is recording this podcast
From
in
Thailand.
Thailand.
Can we go literally anywhere but Thailand?
So what
Sure.
you're saying? We need a mobile podcast.
Let's go to
studio.
Patagonia. Let's go to Patagonia.
I would go there. Where is that? Peru? Argentina?
Yeah, South America. It's Argentina.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I think. I don't know.
How much does Future Mike weigh?
Well, so 90 days. I am now like 21 days into 90 days, which is 210 and 18% body fat.
You're going to look like a linebacker instead of a center.
The best comment I got was from my plumber. So like 2019, 2020, when all this, he commented on one of my Facebook pages, like, "You look like an MMA fighter."
All right.
Okay,
Sick.
okay.
Yeah.
So we're going back to that, Mike. No,
Yeah, a little to an extent, probably not as muscly,
Jacked.
but healthier and kind of get more into the biohacking. You know, Jan,
Hanging out with Jan. Again.
Jan's starting in like parent. We might be going to Dallas.
it's gonna happen on Sunday. You're
Yeah.
gonna hear about the biohack.
Oh yeah, the juice cleanse and the coffee enema, and so getting physically healthy. I think of it this way. I don't believe in balance. I think balance is a fallacy. I think I like to look at work-life balance as a harmony of all the components of your shelving system, and I think my chord has been played really, really softly compared to what it could be played. And so I'm really excited to now make that chorus bigger through more staff and in the power behind that, but then living into my authentic self a little bit more and being a little bit louder.
You know, something's going to happen. It's interesting. I'm in a different life stage than all you guys. So Mike has teenage kids. Trevor and Dane don't have families yet, and I have grandkids. And so I didn't start building what I'm building until my kids were grown and gone. So I really respect the whole try to balance it. You guys will have to figure this out if you get married and have kids, how you're going to balance, you know, when all you're doing all day long is working and doing deals and buying deals and everything
You
else.
told
Like,
me if we make enough money, you can hire a night nurse and all the help.
Yeah,
and that you don't even have to raise your own
I
kids.
learned that from one of my partners. Yeah, I'm like, oh, you're not going to sleep anymore. And I saw him the next time. I'm like, so how are you sleeping? He goes, oh, I sleep great. We just hired somebody to come into the house, and when the baby wakes up, they take care of him. I don't have to wake up. I was like, oh, you just hire other people to take care of your kids. That's easy.
I don't
So
like that.
yeah,
I
you
just
make
don't
enough
want to
money.
wipe. I don't want to wipe my dad's ass. I just want to have someone else do that.
I'm glad that sentence didn't go the other way. I'm actually really excited.
It's impressive to me to see people who go out and build business and build their portfolios while trying to raise a family, because you know your spouse is usually a lot more conservative. The kids take time. I mean, I just know so many people out there right now that would be great investors, but they're not really in buy mode because they're coaching kids sports. They're doing all the things that they want out of life, which is great. It's just, you know, I mean, I'm at a different life cycle. I have grandkids, so it's
different strokes for
yeah.
different.
You play Zelda with your grandkids?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
He's
Yeah.
good at.
I put 300 hours into the most recent Zelda game.
Woo!
Yeah,
He only played for
300.
3 weeks.
No, it took me about a year.
Gabe was radio silent.
That
We
could not
couldn't get
happen.
on.
That could not happen.
Credit to you though, really quick, because I made some bad comments. But
To you
the
being
amount of
Mike.
yeah, sorry, pointed my finger, but that's not helpful.
Not at all.
No, it's really hard to worry about your physical health when you're running businesses and having a wife and kids and trying to balance all of that. You can't. I mean, you.
How
really
would you
can't.
know?
I know because you see it. You see it happen so
You see all the fat
consistently.
guys running
Well,
around town.
you sleep less. It raises
Yeah.
your cortisol, and you just don't have time to exercise. Like
Well, and that's the beauty of hard work. Hard work makes it easy to sleep.
that. Well, I just meant the amount of time, not the quality of sleep. Because when you were talking about being an appraiser, it's like,
Yeah.
and you were doing the appraisals in the middle of the night, and it's like, yeah, even if you're sleeping
The-
really
the-
well for 4 hours.
What's
that's
interesting
not-
about Mike, what Mike is saying though, is he's always cared more about others. So he's cared about raising a family, raising his kids, building up for his staff, and doing all these things. And he's hitting a stage of life where he can start to think about himself a little bit more and maybe make your goals a little bit more Mike centric, to where it might, in the end, it might help everybody else even more than what you're doing today. But you get to go, here's my vision. I really want to have good quality of life, and I want to have really good quality relationships, which I say make friends and have fun. That's the dumb way of saying what you do. But you're setting yourself up for that so that you can live a happier, more joyous, peaceful life. Money and real estate and all that play into it, but it's not the ultimate goal of what you're aiming for. And so now that you have some of these responsibilities will sort of kind of burn off, and they'll change, and then you'll still always be a dad, and you'll have to take care of your kids in a different way once they're adults, and then eventually you have grandkids, and that's the best thing ever. Like it makes having kids totally worth it. I highly recommend not having kids if you don't have kids already, but I do highly recommend having kids just for the sake of having grandkids. And my kids get mad at me when I say this. My advice to all of them was don't have kids. And 2 of my 3 daughters listened to me, and luckily one of them didn't, and she had 2 kids, so I have grandkids, and it is amazing. I had no idea that I love kids that much, and they would be such a special part of life. But there is more to life than deals. But we are deal junkies.
You can still call it a waterfall event. The grandkid was the waterfall event to having a child.
It's my promoted interest. I raised 3 daughters and I got a grandson finally, but then I got a granddaughter. So now there's 4 girls and 1 boy. Well, I got Cash to play Zelda with me. Maybe I can get Cody to play Zelda with me too.
Mike's hitting a stride.
So is your vision set, or you're trying to scope? I'm still confused.
No. Do more deals. Do bigger deals. Have more partners. And this is where I love talking to Logan yesterday, and not actually being here for Logan's interviews, I think was helpful for me, and being able to hear the interviews. I heard a vision of a portion of my future self through Logan, as far as where he went, why he created the 721 fund. So I'm kind of where Logan is the years prior to creating that 721 fund. And then I heard the 721 fund episode. I was like, oh, those are the problems I'm about to have, and now I get to hear how I'm going to solve those problems. And then talking to Logan and getting the deep dive of what all the different curbs he put in, and all the balancing effects that he put into the fund, and the way, dude, I'm telling you, the steroids that guy was on when he was thinking this through is amazing.
Oh, it took us years. And I say us. I mean, I was just like, he was bouncing ideas off of me, and I'm like, yeah, that's it. That is a great idea. Yeah,
Sounds awesome.
Yeah,
you
I love
should
it.
do that.
Thumbs up. Yeah.
So we talked about helping others has been my downfall and a superpower. So from a downfall standpoint, I help others. I don't ask for help.
At the detriment of your own.
Yeah. Well, I don't ask for help. I'm afraid to ask for help. And so that's where the conversation with Logan was so powerful yesterday, because A, he was excited to get on the phone with me because he's been listening to our podcast. And then B, I've already got a spreadsheet that I can't wait to show him. I'm like, I'm working on these real life deals. They're going to be complicated. I need your help. And as we were wrapping up that hour phone call yesterday, I was like, hey, I really need to meet with you to go over these. He's like, I got an hour. I can do it right now. I'm just like, no, I can't. But I wouldn't, when I met you, I had no ability to go ask Logan for the level of help that he's about to give me. And then you think about now me asking him, he's helping my partners, because he's going to help make sure that I don't put our partners in a bad position by the way I structured.
So are you saying this deal that you've been working so hard on that you're not going to get paid on, you're going to bring it into the SMI fund through a 721 exchange?
I tried, but he already accepted Faraday off.
Oh, we got beat out by another SMI broker.
Yeah.
I am not a partner with Chris. That was a dumb move. I took him to lunch the other day. I should have told him, yeah, you can't do this anymore.
Well, you're the one that told me he was the right buyer, so I told the seller he was the right buyer.
He is.
Yeah.
How big is this deal?
Yeah. 2.9.
Chris is buying $2.9 million?
Yeah, Chris is a stud. We'll have him on the show.
Crazy. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
awesome. Dude, he's bought a deal. This dude, first boom meeting, buys a deal, shows up to the
What's a
second-
boom meeting? Nobody knows.
broker open, broken, I don't know.
The
Some meeting.
Oh, there's it's an acronym? I thought you just like, boom.
No.
It is.
Okay.
It's the monthly SMI meeting.
Broker open orientation.
We try
meeting.
to come together and do deals together and broker deals together. We spend 3 hours in a meeting once a month.
It's
Go
a
ahead.
sick meeting. So the first one I ever went to, I bought a deal at, which was super cool. Happened a few other times. Chris comes. sets the new metric. He bought a deal first meeting, shows up to the second meeting,
Bought
buys another deal. And now he's buying this. I thought he wanted to buy houses. Now you're saying he's buying a $2.9 million.
Yeah. It's a good condo exit. It's a good condo conversion exit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he told us he wanted to
seems
buy smaller
awesome.
deals so he could do more of them. But yeah, he's
Change
just
his mind
buying.
real
He
quick.
says I'm just buying deals to like keep my brain busy so I can have fun and not, He
Yeah.
retired when he was like 30 years old and decided that life wasn't worth living anymore. Just like your whole retire early, fire thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Like he said, yeah, I did that, and he got there and he's like, yeah, don't. Do
Everyone who has the ability to do it realizes they want to keep doing stuff.
that. They might take a year or two
Yeah.
or whatever, and they'll be like, yeah, that's bored. I want to do something. So I think as long as you've got your health, I think you'll always want to be productive. That's kind of what brings.
Well, you
purpose.
start dying when you aren't.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Wow.
All right.
On that note,
Do we know who future Mike is? Did we get enough?
It's still clear. It's muddy as fuck.
I was going to say, I don't
We're-
know if Mike knows
We're,
if you.
we're gonna have.
I think it's a trend thing.
I think I have to go
You've
to
got-
It's
therapy.
going to be
Good.
fun. I'm
It's
going to
a
have a lot
good
of cool people in my
trajectory.
life. I'm going to be having a lot of fun. Life will be light. I will not live a heavy life.
What I love about the story is that you've recognized a few things about yourself.
Mhm.
That you're you're willing to maybe try some new things. You're willing to think bigger. You're willing to listen to some other people who have done some other things that you might be interested in, and so you're evolving. Like you're literally leveling up.
I think I'm curious again. It's good to be curious.
So you've got energy.
I
It's
got
giving
it.
you energy.
You said you want to live
Yes.
light, but if you go buy a $5 million office deal, that's not light.
It
You're
is.
gonna run
No,
into
again,
if it's
so
worth
no,
it.
it's how you perceive it and how you take it.
Yeah, you can act however you want. Okay, sure.
You can act
It-
out.
it- I mean, yeah, if you
So,
have
okay.
the mental fortitude to act how you want in that
here's-
situation,
Not
you're gonna have-
everybody- not everybody
Okay, no,
can
this
take
is
it.
okay. Okay, so I've got a scheduled Facebook post that's going to come out tomorrow, and it's based on the stupid fucking quote I saw that like 80% of the time life is it's an entrepreneurial fucking failure porn is what I called it. 80% of the time you're getting kicked in the balls. No, we're not. Are we really?
It feels like
Uh,
that sometimes.
No, we love it. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but
Well,
you are.
You are getting kicked
Kicked
in the
in the
balls,
balls.
though.
But it's not hard.
Yeah,
We
It is.
like
It is to
I
most
disagree
people.
completely.
but it isn't to us in the moment. So trying to claim like this is so fucking hard when it actually gives us energy.
Dude.
The four people sitting in this room, it gives energy. I think you have to realize that not everybody's wired like we are.
No, entrepreneurs saying that it's
Entrepreneur.
hard.
Oh,
are,
an
yes,
that's not an
this
entrepreneur.
is from an entrepreneur who just wants a victim mentality. Woe is me. Failure porn. I'm done with the failure porn.
I mean, I would agree with that statement. It is hard a lot of the time,
No, it's not.
dude. Gabe, was it hard when you had all that money going out flipping houses?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It was hard.
It's like, dude,
It was. I mean, looking back now that I'm through it, I'm glad I did it. But I would never want to feel the way I felt then again.
it does sound pretty hard to me. Like, just saying.
What did he say exactly?
He said 80% of the time. What
Yeah.
something about
I think for periods of time, that is completely true. I've been through that where I'm like, holy fuck, and then, dude, oh, sorry, no swearing.
sorry,
Um,
Dane's mom.
Yeah, goodness gracious, guys. We're at like 7.
So this is a topic
Oh,
that
maybe I deleted it.
You have a
Trevor-
scheduled Facebook post. Sorry. Anyways, Gabe.
Trevor loves to hear about pain because you're really interested in how people handle struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, I want to learn for myself.
I can tell you a story. One of the first fourplexes that I ever bought, I bought it from a gal. She inherited it from her dad, and they were sort of self-managing, trying to do this stuff. And literally owning a fourplex, she could not sleep at night. She sold me her building on contract with almost 100% financing so that she could sleep at night because she would lay in bed at night and worry about what the tenants were doing in her fourplex. So not everybody is wired to take on stress or own buildings or do some of this stuff. So you can own a $5 million office building that doesn't
Right.
generate any revenue, and you may sleep at night and go play golf
Right.
and make friends and have
No,
fun.
I'm gonna throw paintball parties, tag parties, hide and go seek. I'm serious. So here's the quote:
We're gonna have
80%
sleepovers.
Do we have to wear onesies?
80% of
Footy
the time you
pajamas?
feel like you're failing. That's the quote that I
Well-
just don't agree with.
Well, I'm with you on that. Like, I think 80% of the time it can feel like it's hard,
Yes.
but I don't think you feel like you're failing.
Correct.
I would disagree.
Because failing to me, it means something different. Failing is like I gave up. I
That's
threw in the
what
towel.
yeah.
I dug a hole. I crawled inside and I died. Like none of us would be sitting in this room if we had ever done that, right?
Right.
Like we persevered. We came through those hard times, but we
Dane
didn't.
hasn't had to do that yet.
The only time you fail is if you quit. That's
Yeah.
probably one of the better entrepreneurial quotes. That's where what?
Yeah, I haven't lost a whole bunch of money, but brokering in 2022
Oh,
and
yeah, sure.
2023 as a new broker was not very fun.
Mike said it was fine.
But I'm
Mike
not.
said you did fine.
I didn't. I did okay. Thanks, Trevor. Yeah, Trevor showed up with me during a hard time. No, I mean, I would
But
say
did
that
you
our tolerance.
Have you
level
felt
is-
like a failure the past 2 years?
I haven't felt like a
Yes.
failure. No, there were a couple moments where I was like, wouldn't be the worst thing if I
Okay.
stopped. doing
Trevor
it.
has something to say. Trevor
But-
feels like a failure.
Yeah, I think that's what most people do because you have this vision in mind that you're not at. So if you're not at it, you feel like
So that's why it's heavy, is because you're comparing yourself. You're putting too much value into the gap.
gap in the game, that
Yeah.
book. And all that.
I do think that Trevor's impatience makes it harder for him.
Yeah.
Because one of my jobs is to constantly tell you that we're doing the right thing, and you just want it right now. And then if we don't have it
Helps
right
move
now,
things
then we're
forward.
failing. No, it does. I don't think it's a bad thing. It's a good balance.
If this were easy, everybody would do it,
Mm-hmm.
And if it
right?
were,
Like, I mean, that's the whole point right there. Is like this is hard, but
Yeah.
it's the kind of hard that we love.
It's simple. It isn't easy. We make it unsimple to make more fun out of it.
Maybe
We complicate it to bring more fun.
did you just say?
you are going to be a good broker.
I
good,
think I
good
just made
brokers
it.
just complicate everything.
I was just like, I don't try to make stuff hard.
No, Holly uncomplicated everying today.
There's nothing wrong with this deal except the broker. We'd be able to close this deal. That's the email Dane
That's
got. Okay, next time I wrote the email for you. Just cut and paste and
I did.
send.
No, I'm going to go
this.
fix it.
I'm gonna fix it. What do you mean?
Oh, okay.
Actually,
So
you
it
should
is
fix
I
it.
to
will.
Trevor's point. It is hard, but you don't feel like you're failing 80% of the time.
Like on paper, it looks great, but it's not going to how I planned, and it's annoying. And I've made bad decisions that caused me a lot of stress. So
Mhm.
for that, and you go through time periods where, like that 2-year time period, you probably wouldn't think of yourself as a success, right? As you're dealing with that. But on paper, you had some crazy things going, but you're like, holy shit.
I felt like I think we're talking now about just sort of self-worth and how you see yourself. And I before I was ever successful, I saw myself as a success. And even as I've gone through hard times and I failed at individual, points in my life, I've never considered myself to be a failure. Maybe when I was drinking and doing drugs before I got sober, there was probably a point before I got sober where I looked in the mirror and I didn't like what I saw. But there hasn't been another time since that in the 20 years I've been sober where I've looked in the mirror and said I'm a failure. I could lose everything today, and what I feel like is with the knowledge that I have and the connections I have, I'm going to go build it 10 times bigger. Like and from a money standpoint or from the way the world sees success, everybody has to decide for themselves. If you're comparing yourself to somebody else and saying I have less than them or I did it slower than them or whatever, you're going to fall into a trap. This really comes down to, self-worth and understanding that, we're all trying to make it. Everybody wants to be successful. Everybody wants people to think of them as a successful person. But one of the things that's very clear to me about myself and other people that I know that are very successful is, for the most part, they could care less what other people think. They're not doing it for them. They're doing it for themselves. We heard Paul Curley. I mean, Paul talks about, we asked him, when did you feel like you made it? He's worth almost $200 million. He says, I still haven't made it. So for him, he feels entitled and worthy of what he has, but he hasn't arrived, right? And so, there are people out there that tell themselves, we know some of them intimately that have really negative self-talk and tell themselves they're pieces of shit and they're not worth it. And look at what happens. The negative energy just brings their deals fall apart. Their deals lose money, their partnerships go into lawsuits, and everything just spirals out of control. So you got to be really careful with the way you talk to yourself. It's super important. And it's okay to understand that this is hard. I think the point of the memes is kind of like, well, we're entrepreneurs, and not everybody would, everybody sort of throws that word around like, well, I want to be an entrepreneur too. Well, most people probably don't want to be an entrepreneur because I would say that the majority of the time, what you get back out is not what people put in. Like when you really gauge what this takes, like entrepreneurs are the only people who will quit a 40-hour-a-week job that's paying them well to go work 80 hours a week to lose money. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. But we all know that we can't be employees because it's not who we are. It's just not in our DNA. And that's one of the things for anybody listening out there is if you're working a job and you're going like, this is not me. I'm absolutely 100% miserable. I couldn't work this job or any other job and be happy. You might be an entrepreneur. Doesn't mean you're going to be successful. But you might be somebody who needs to go out and figure out a way to make your own way and go eat what you kill and not go work for somebody who's providing the business to you. It doesn't mean you're a good person or a bad person. There are just different types of people in the world, and we're all made different. And so it takes visionaries and entrepreneurs to go out and take the risks and to buy the big office towers and to start businesses and run businesses, because otherwise, if some of those didn't hit, nobody would have anywhere to work. Right? And so for the people that are out there who are working a job right now, they can be thankful that they can get paid and they can have stability and they can have a W-2 income and they can live a reasonably happy life and they don't need to take over the world. But for somebody who's going like, that's not enough for me, and that was me. It was like, if you told me I was going to give me a decent number, you're going to pay me $10,000 a month, every month, no matter what, for the rest of my life, I would kill myself. I couldn't do that. Like, I have to know on day one I'm starting at zero or I don't want to work. It's just it's just who I am. And I think we're all sort of wired in that way, that we're not out looking for comfort and stability and safety. That's part of being an entrepreneur, is we're willing to take risk. And with that risk comes a lot of pain. And if 80% of your deals fall apart, maybe you're not a really good entrepreneur, right? Now, I have deals that go great. And within that deal, I'll still get 16 emails today that'll piss me off. And it'll be hard. But I won't look in the mirror and go, oh, I'm a failure because I bought that deal and something went south. It's like, you can't live in the problem. You have to live in the solution all the time. Mm-hmm. And Paul talked about being positive-minded wasn't enough. You had to have the energy. You had to keep your energy up. And Mike talked today about how future Mike, as he evolves, he's bringing his energy level up. And you watch now with Mike, he's surrounding himself with the right people. He's bringing his energy level up, and he's opening his mind to new ideas, to think bigger and to do some things that he wasn't willing to do before. And watch what's going to happen. Like, in that mindset, everything blossoms. It's just like a flower that blooms. But when you're negative and you go like, oh, fuck, I got this bad email and it pissed me off and this deal's falling apart. Like, you can immediately start to go down that road and you will cause the deal to fall apart.
You'll be right. Yeah.
You will. I love the saying that worrying is just praying for the wrong thing to happen. And so future Gabe, I can tell you right now, like, I want to have lower blood pressure. I want to be more peaceful in my life. I probably don't want to work as hard as I'm working right now looking forward. I want in my 50s to start really enjoying the fruits of my labor and what I did in my 40s. I'm not there. I'm about a year and a half away. I still want to do deals. And what's interesting, and so I go and talk to older guys like Paul and ask them, like, at what point in your life did you decide to back off the gas a little bit? And what's interesting is most everybody I've ever talked to, they say once they sort of like stopped forcing it the way you guys right now, you're in your 20s and you have to grind it out hard to get something going. But they say that once they got to a certain point where they're like, you know what, I'm good. I still want to do deals, but I'm not going to kill myself for it anymore. I'm going to enjoy life. I'm going to, maybe get not balance, but more harmony in my life. And I'm not just going to focus always on doing deals. They said, after that point in their life, guess what happened? They did better deals and more deals. Like, the deals started coming out of every angle, right? Because they set themselves up for that. They relaxed. One of the I'm writing down all of the spiritual principles of real estate right now, but one of them is you have to relax around money. So one of the things that'll make somebody feel like they're a failure is they ran out of money or they borrowed money and lost it or whatever. Like money always seems to be sort of like, when you think about success, the first thing everybody thinks about is money. And so, you know, I don't know where I'm really going with that, other than just to say, you know, you're not a failure just because you lost some money.
Right.
Like, as a matter of fact, go lose some freaking money. Like, it's okay to lose money. It doesn't, that deal may have failed or that partnership may have failed, but you didn't fail. You only fail when you stop trying.
That's what one of my favorite Alex Hormozy quotes is. You've definitely heard it, but when you're talking about even if I had no money and I hadn't done anything yet, I would know personally that I was a success.
Yeah.
I was a good person. And he says, you have all these people that will say that you're a failure and that you're faking it and you're an imposter. And that's because they think in days and weeks and you think in decades. And so he hasn't, you know, if you haven't made it to the point yet, it's because you know that the things you're doing will take you to where you want to go. You're just not there yet.
I'd argue that I don't give a shit what they think.
No, you don't. And that's why you make it.
I could
That's
care less.
That's the reason you make it to that point, though.
I want to respect myself. I want to look in the mirror and say, I tried. I went and I found the biggest rock I could find, and I carried it as far as I could. That's a Jordan Peterson
Sisyphus.
thing. I mean, I find purpose and I find, you know, self-worth in taking on more responsibility. When I was a drug addict, alcoholic, I wanted less. I would drive by in my sports car wearing my Rolex and look out the window and see the homeless guy drinking out of a paper sack, and I would be jealous. I'd be like, oh, that guy, he doesn't have to do anything.
Nobody cares.
He doesn't have to answer to a wife. He doesn't have kids to raise. He doesn't have a business to run. He doesn't have employees doing stupid shit. He's just laying there under the bridge. All he's got to worry about is where the next bottle's coming from. And I was literally jealous. Right? The grass is always greener, that thought. And so when you're putting that kind of energy into the world that you want, you're just always like, I really need a vacation. I really need some me time. I really need, you know, whatever. It's just selfishness. It's being self-absorbed, and it's focusing on the wrong thing. You're not grateful for what you have. I wasn't driving down the road thanking God that I was driving a sports car and wearing a Rolex. I was wishing that I had this dude's life drinking out of a paper sack. I mean, how messed up is that? But, you know, I mean, the reality is this is a head game. I mean, what we do, and you better have your head on straight if you're going to go buy a $5 million, $8 million office building or whatever we're talking about. Like, once you start to play in this pond, I don't care what you're doing in real estate, even if you're buying your first duplex, like, you've got to have your head on straight, because there's going to be moments, many of them, that you look at it and go like, why did I do that?
And the more times you overcome it, the more ready you are for the next one.
Well, and that's what levels you up, and that's what we're talking about. You know, I think some of these deals, and to Trevor's point, I love the fact that Trevor's done deals he shouldn't have done. I love the fact that Trevor's lost money, because Trevor, even though he doesn't realize it, he's leveled up, and Trevor is a different Trevor today than he was before he did those deals. There are no bad deals. You either, what do they say? You either win or learn. Like, so the bad deals are the ones that teach you. I mean, you guys talk about my bad deals, and they are the ones that gave me the strength and the courage to know that I could go do bigger stuff, so that, you know, now I've solved a $2 million problem. Well, now I've solved a $7 million problem. Well, I'll go solve a $15 million problem. It'll just keep going. There are always going to be problems. I think probably the biggest fallacy is for those who are not entrepreneurial to think that, well, entrepreneurs are just, you know, their life is easy. And we see them on Facebook riding in their sailboat and talking about how they took 3 months and went to Europe or whatever, right? Like, there's this whole I don't have what they have sort of thing. And then the entrepreneur sort of pushes back and goes, but you don't know what the hell I did to get that life, right? And so there's this kind of tug, you know, if you're gonna want safety out of life and you're gonna want stability, you might not spend 3 weeks in Europe until maybe you get older and you retire and you're able to go do that. That's probably not in the cards. If that's a lifestyle that you want, but you also want the safety, you're going to have to pick between the two. Like, which one is it? Do you want to take? And some people say, I got to take my shot, and then they go and they throw an air ball, you know? And then they're like, welp, now now I'm not spending 3 months in Europe, and I owe millions of dollars, and I got to go back and work a job, and I got to figure out how to pay all this money back. Okay, well, I mean, maybe. So I was always taught, don't stub your toe on the first deal. You really kind of want your first deal to be a hit. It's got to be a winner. And after that, you know what? You're going to stub your toe on some deals, but you're never going to be a failure unless you give up and you look in the mirror and you say, I'm a failure. Like I'm with Mike on that one. I think that it's a little failure porn is a good way to put it. There's a little bit, it's pushed a little bit too hard on everybody. That I think it's trying to scare people away from being entrepreneurial or being investors. And I don't think we should scare people. I think they know. If you're listening to this, you know.
You know
you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You know it's time to take the jump. Take the leap. You only get to live this life one time. So go have fun.
Make friends too.
Dude, that's a 12-minute motivational.
I'm fired up.
Yeah.
All
Ready
right.
to roll.
Let's go on that.
Let's go do
go on
deals.
that.
All right. We're going to go buy deals. Guys, thanks for listening. It's been fun. We'll see you next time.